Very pleased to have with us here on the program today, NRA News commentator, Mr. Dom Raso. Dom, how you doing, sir?
Hey, what's happening, Cam? How you been?
I've been great. Thanks for coming on the show today. Happy Veterans Day to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm, obviously it would have been better being on scene with you guys, but I had some other obligations, and I know you guys are over there getting some rounds down range, so that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, we miss you, but we understand, and that's that's the life that you have lived, Dom. I mean, you know very much the responsibilities and the duties that can take you. And force you to choose sometimes between you gotta tell people that you love and people that you want to be around. I'm sorry, but I've got something that I have to do. It's my duty to do this, and that's one of the things that you folks in the military have to go through as part of your job in a way that a lot of civilians never have to do that. We never have to look someone we love in the eye and say, "I'm sorry, I can't be there."
Absolutely, and to be honest with you, now that I've been out for a little bit, almost coming on close to a year now, looking back at my military career and now seeing like, wow, I can make my own decision whether I can stay home or not. That's not always the case, but more so than I was going overseas, fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq. But it's interesting because you just don't think about it. I know a lot of guys don't. You have to go. You have to commit to that cause. And it's one more thing that you're in your mind. You're like, I gotta compartmentalize. I gotta be able to go and fight this fight without putting too much thought about what's going on back home. And now getting to enjoy that a little bit, it's like, wow, this is what I was missing out this whole time, and actually enjoying the freedom that these guys are fighting for. And now I'm sitting back on Veterans Day, being like, man, I can't thank guys that are currently active enough. I live every day, having honor and pride, knowing that there's still guys out there that are like, you know what, I'm stepping up, I'm going to sacrifice things in my life, being with my family, possibly making the ultimate sacrifice and going forward and fighting for what we get to do back here every single day. And that's what drives me. And a lot of guys, I've lost brothers along the way, and a lot of people have lost people in the military and fighting for our freedom in this country. And one thing that I say to people is that I don't look at that as a bad thing. I always use that as energy to drive me forward for the things that we still have to do in this country, the fight, and we still have to, the freedom we still have to fight for. So it's energy for me. I absolutely am honored to have people that are still serving. So any way, shape, or form, now that I have the freedom to help those guys out, I look for those opportunities constantly. So it's something that I look forward to doing.
Hey, Dom, Kurt Schlichter here. I first came back from my first war after Desert Storm about 20-some years ago. So I'm pretty used to, I stayed reserves after that, but I'm pretty used to being a civilian on Veterans Day. How do you feel you're being supported by the American people now here on one of your first Veterans Days home?
That's something that I look at every single day, and I see people. What tends to happen is guys like us tend to surround ourselves with like-minded people. So most of the people that
I live in L.A., so for me that's not an issue.
Well, yeah, I'm not living over there. I take trips there every now and then. It's a really nice place, but I'm not sure if I could be able to handle the current politics. But anyway, that's another topic. Frankly, I see everybody supports guys like us and supports guys that are serving in the military. And I think we've seen that evolution over time. I wrote something a while ago, since Vietnam, we've evolved into now people are like, wow, I get it. I get what they're doing. And, it's really cool to see people come up to me and say, I did a video on civilian appreciation for the NRA news and as a commentator, and just saying, look, it's amazing to see how many people do step up. And sometimes they don't know why they're doing it, but most of the time they do, and it's a matter of whether they've been involved in having the great opportunity to fight for freedom. And I see that difference, and it's the saying that I'm sure you've heard before that, freedom has a different flavor for those who've fought for it. And if you think about that, that statement couldn't be truer. You get an opportunity to know what it's like to put your life on the line, to fight for that freedom. So it gives you a better understanding of why we're actually doing it. And now we have 1.5 million people that are going to be coming home that have served for the last 13 years. This is the longest we've ever been at war in the history of our country. And we have some amazing experience coming back home that are integrating with our country. And I think more and more people get the opportunity to work with these these men and women, and they start to understand it when you get to hang out with them more. You get to understand the mentality, what goes behind it. So to answer your question, it's interesting, but I have seen more and more people stepping up saying, you know what, I do understand it, I do get it, and they appreciated it. So that's a good feeling.
Well, and that is good because, the other thing I think culturally for a lot of us growing up, veterans would have been, guys from, as you say, Vietnam, the Korean War, World War II. I remember doing a documentary and talking with a military historian, and he said, when you see some old guy walking down the road and his pants are up to his chest and he's kind of shuffling along, and you want to roll your eyes at him, just think when this guy was a young man, he did amazing things. And so I think there's a generation of Americans for a long time who pictured veterans with gray hair and silver mustaches, and they didn't think of their coworkers and their kids' teachers and the baseball coach, guys who are in their 20s and 30s and 40s as veterans, because we did not have that war. And as you say, now, Dom, we've got 1.5 million Americans coming back. I hope that Americans are cognizant of the fact that not every veteran is going to have, a gray hair and a cane.
Well, it's really interesting that, I would walk down the halls of a headquarters and I would see, a little 20-year-old female soldier with a combat action badge.
Yep.
And, hey, what'd you do, specialist? Oh, well, we got blown up in, in Ramadi. But it was okay. We got out of there. We did what we had to do. 20 years old. I mean, it's not the old. It's not the classic veterans, the gray-haired guys who were in Vietnam or Korea. It's not the Vietnam generation. It's a whole new.
Not just.
There's a whole bunch of younger folks, and you can't necessarily tell them until you start talking to them.
Absolutely.
Although they do seem to walk a little taller.
We have some young vets out there for sure, and I mean, you just said it yourself. There's men and women that are 23 years old, and they're a vet. They've been overseas, been in gunfights, saving their buddies, doing medical care, getting blown up, and they have some amazing experience. There's no doubt that service members, they represent some of the strongest part of our country, and the selflessness, the righteous, and the brave people that are out there serving it, and they're young now. And you're absolutely right. I think the image is changing to know that it could be the brother and sister next to you or your coworker. And like I said, I think it's really important for people to understand. And I wish we were a warrior culture. Like say the Spartans, for instance, in Greece. Like that was a warrior culture. Everybody in that culture said, how can I help you? How can I do something for the cause and the greater cause of our country and our culture? And unfortunately, I don't believe that we are a warrior culture. I wish we were, but what I do know is that 1.5 million people coming back home with all that experience will probably take it closer to a warrior culture than it's ever been, because you get a look inside of what that really is and what that entails and the sacrifices that have been put into that time. So.
Absolutely, and there are a lot of people who would like this. I think we live in a cupcake culture, Dom, more than a warrior culture. And I'm sure that there are people who would love to have 500,000 cupcakeries open up, with the 1.5 million veterans coming home. Kurt, every town in America could have a cupcakery. This could be the greatest thing since the GI Bill. I mean, it could be the cupcake bill.
Is this the new cupcake entitlement? If you liked your cupcake, you can keep it.
But as you say, these men and women coming back will shape our culture. They will undeniably shape our culture because they're leaders. Exactly. And they're going to continue to be leaders.
Exactly. They're trained to lead. They're trained to take charge. They understand how to make things happen. I just hired a veteran in my law firm as a law clerk. She's going to school. She's working for me. She's great. She's great. Hey, here's a secret out there. If you're hiring veterans, if you're not going to do it for the vet, do it for yourself, because you're going to get someone who's – well, you know it, Dom. You're trained. You know how to be on time. You know how to follow instructions. You know how to follow intent. You're going to be drug-free. You're not going to be a loser.
Amazing. Yeah, it's amazing the world experience that you get. I mean, I've had buddies that, they got out of high school. They went and did their thing, and you come full circle with the experience and the deployments that I have, traveling around the world and getting in situations and, you know, life or death situations. I mean, it shapes you. You know, that experience is invaluable, you know, and it absolutely does bring a lot of experience. I agree. You know, if somebody's hiring and they have an opportunity to hire a veteran that's got fresh combat experience or experience in the military in general, they're going to get an asset on their team. They're going to have somebody that can come in and, you know, not only they're going to be a pipe hitter in a sense, but they're also going to bring that team mentality. Every room or company that I've walked in, you know, there isn't necessarily that team mentality. Guys, let's get together in the morning and let's crush this together. It's kind of fragmented, and that drives me crazy because I'm like, I just want to go in there because I naturally see it. And I'm like, let's get everybody at, you know, at the round table and let's do this together. And you bring more of that team mentality together, and you know.
Dom, as somebody who's been out there for about 20-some years out of full-time military, that's never going to go away, that feeling. I'll tell you, I am a better lawyer. I am a prominent lawyer because I had military background, because I know how to fight. I know how to plan. I know about strategy. I know about tactics. And whether it's moving a infantry battalion around the field or whether it is moving a case through the court system, there are many, many similarities in any kind of business, but especially in mine. I would not be where I was or where I am today if I had not been in the military. No question.
No doubt. I mean, you know, there's been some pretty significant things that have happened in my career, good or bad. Wouldn't replace any of it. You know, like I said, you know, even the brothers I've lost, which is probably the worst part of it, you know, I still use that as energy to drive me forward. I know a lot of guys think that way. You know, I take that and turn it into something good and try to live in their footsteps and you know, honor what they would want this country to be. And that's fighting for our freedom in any way, shape, or form. And now that I'm out, I'm like, that energy still hasn't stopped. I'm like, where can I get involved to help out? And, you know, veterans, it's funny how so many veterans are involved with the NRA. And the reason I say that is because, you know, veterans and people that are military truly understand what it's like to fight for freedom. And I've said this before, and Cam, I believe I even said this at the NRA show this year, is that, you know, people that understand what it's like to fight for freedom know that the NRA is doing exactly that. I feel like they're one of the last big organizations that exists in our country that truly has our back when it comes to protecting our rights. And they're loud about it, and they get involved, and they're making good stuff happen. You know, people, whether it's politics or ideas or organizations, you know, everybody gets excited, and there's all this Facebook stuff flashing around, and everybody's got a post to put up an opinion. But what everybody lacks in this industry and politics is follow-through. When you say you're going to do something, nobody follows through anymore. And that's the one thing the NRA has been doing. And I tell people it's not just about the Second Amendment anymore. It's about your freedom, you know, and that's really what I truly believe about, you know, being part of the NRA. And that's why so many veterans are part of the NRA, because they understand that the NRA is protecting their rights, and that's what it's all about. And there's just nobody doing that anymore. So, you know, it's been a good experience to be involved and help educate people. And, you know, I wish I was out there with you guys, but, you know, I'm here on the phone.
Well,
so
listen. All right, listen, I'm sure we'll be seeing you before long, Dom. You know, we're getting to the busy time of year. We got SHOT Show coming up. We've got the Great American Outdoor Show in Harrisburg and the NRA annual meeting. Hard to believe, but, you know, that's less than 6 months away. So we will be seeing you soon. But thank you so much for coming on the show. And, again, man, happy Veterans Day. Thank you so much for all that you've given this country.
Cam, thank you so much. And, you know, two more things. First, I really hope that you do get on the range and get some lead down there. Because, you know, you can't sit there all day. You got to at least go pick up a gun and shoot one a couple of times. Second thing, I don't know if you were thinking about me, Cam, but you got your throwback Patriots hat on today, and that is huge. So right on. And I'm glad you're sporting it. And thanks a lot, guys. Keep crushing it, and talk to you guys soon.
All right. Thanks, Dom. Always great talking to you, man. Dom Raso joining us, one of the commentators here at NRA News.